If we go stand there with the spin, it's potential spin.
Final 2 rounds of the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, 2 races to decide the outcome of the championship, and it couldn't be much closer. Yesterday's race was won by this man, Henry Neal, who starts on pole position for race 2, and he therefore has an 8-point margin over Lewis Kent, who is the TCR leader coming into these final couple of races. It's going to be incredibly tight. The battling yesterday was especially intense. We've got a few new drivers on the grid as well, a few returning faces. Sam Osborne making the move across from the British Touring Car Championship is going to be one to watch for sure. He was in the podium battle yesterday. As you can see behind me, the grid is being cleared because we're not that far away from getting the race underway. It's going to be a fascinating battle this between Henry and Lewis at the front of the field. Lewis, already the TCR champion, but he won't be happy if he can't win the Touring Car Trophy. He's been trying, remember, for 3 years for success in this category. He really wants to go out on top. As the engines are firing up behind me then, it is almost time to go racing. Scott Woodwiss is up in the commentary box for you. Scott, this is going to be a good one.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Andy. Welcome along, everyone, to this second race of the weekend for the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, featuring TCR UK and indeed the Volkswagen Racing Cup. It's been a pretty intense season, even if a bit of a slightly truncated one than we would have expected. But nonetheless, it is going to be an exciting battle, particularly at the front, between the 2 cars right at the front of the field, finishing first and second yesterday. They are the 2 main contenders in the overall Dunlop Touring Car Trophy. Henry Neal for Team Dynamics in the Honda Civic Type R, and Lewis Kent in the Hyundai i30N TCR. I know that Andy's making a bit of a mad dash back up to the box here, so the cars will be heading around onto what will be their formation lap. We'll be able to give you the grid of who is where. In fact, we've got the grid in front of us here. So, based on yesterday's result, this is how they line up. It's Henry Neal, yesterday's race winner and championship leader in the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, who will start on pole position. Lewis Kent, who effectively is the top TCR driver of the season, he is going to start alongside him on the front row. There'll be another battle royale between them for the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy title. Third on the grid should be Max Hart after he finished third, and fourth should be Darrell Wilson in the Vauxhall Astra TCR. Fifth is Mark Wakefield, who's been promoted again from VW Cup. He's one of the 2 Maximum Motorsports Cupras. Alongside him is Jeff Alden, making his debut in the championship in the Matrix Motorsport run on the Civic. There's Sam Osborne, BTCC current racer in one of the 2 PMR Cupras. Alongside him is his teammate Will Butler, another promotee from Volkswagen Racing Cup. And then Tim Docker, who I was hoping was going to be on the grid, but sadly due to contact yesterday doesn't appear to have made it. So we then go back to our VW Cup cars, a little bit further back, which should see, I believe, looks like it's Bradley Kent who will start on pole position for that race. Bradley Kent, alongside him is going to be Howard Fuller, one of 2 drivers from Team Hard. Good to see Howard back on the grid once again. Andy Wilmot, another former BTCC man in the second Team Hard Volkswagen Golf. And we have Josh Coggan, who is starting fourth on that. Then we have the 2 Deppers, Martin and Jack. It was Jack who won yesterday's first race of the Gilbert Cup, so it looks like he's got 6 reversed from that first race on that grid. Then it's 7th place for Paul Ivans, next is Ross and Joyce, back in the grid, hoping to try and salvage something from what's been a pretty tricky couple of the weekend so far, is Richard Gilbert, who came into the weekend leading the points in the VW Cup, but after trouble yesterday, Andy, wasn't the best way to start his weekend, particularly when he had contact, and not on purpose. He tagged the spinning Tim Docker. He had nowhere to go, and after a pretty awful reason at Silverstone, his fortunes just didn't get any better yesterday.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one in strife yesterday. It was a pretty bruising affair, that opening race of the weekend. They overall touring car-ish, didn't they, really? But that is what the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy is all about. Close, hard racing. I believe there were a few words exchanged between Andy Holly, our senior clerk of the course, and the drivers that were involved in some of the fisticuff yesterday. So hopefully we get more of the great racing, but a bit less of the trading of paint. Fascinating battle this, isn't it, between Henry Neal and Lewis Kent. Both of them stalwarts of the series. Lewis, of course, in his 3rd year racing that TCR Hyundai, and finally appears to have wrapped up the TCR element of the championship, but he really wants to win the TCT part as well. He wants to beat Henry Neal. Neil has one more race victory than Lewis this year, and that is ultimately what's given him this 8-point cushion. But with 2 races to go and still over 50 points available, you wouldn't bet against Lewis mounting a bit of a fight back. That Hyundai works really well around Donington Park. It's got good straight line speed, it's good through the medium speed corners, and they're together again on the front row of the grid. It's going to be a great race. I
think I heard it was either from you or from Chaz Drake on one of the previous weekends, but there was something which was a long-standing problem that was fixed on Lewis Kent's car, which was that he was finding out why the car was handling strangely, because he found that the brake bias switch of the sticker found that Hyundai themselves actually, by mistake, it was a complete mistake, had applied it the wrong way round. So it means he was putting the setting up the brake bias in the wrong direction. So they found that out, recognised it, and ever since then the car has been working pretty much like a charm. It's been working as it should do. It's just a case that he's having to be chasing this man, of course, who was the only non-TCR car on the field on the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy grid. That being the X-Works Team Dynamics car, still run by Team Dynamics, of course, being driven for Henry. I know his brother Neil, and of course both being son of 3 times BTCT champion Matt Neil, also raced here last year, one of the current spec NGTC FK2 shaped Civics at the end of the season, because Henry's had that full campaign and the delivery that's pretty much identical to that which you see in the BTCC. So it was a pretty frantic battle, but it was more to the benefit of Henry Neil, who just sailed out in front yesterday. Lewis got caught up behind Max Hart in that battle, couldn't quite get past him all that well. But I think it's the last couple of cars lined up. If it was intense yesterday, with more of a title on the line today, I think it's going to be even more intense. Of course, you are the master of ceremonies for TCR, so Andy, all yours.
Yeah, here we go then. It's finals day again in the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy. 2 races to go, 8 points between them, and they share the front row of the grid. The red lights go on, the revs start to rise. Off they go, and it's a terrible start made by Henry Neil. It's Max Hart that pokes through the middle and goes from 3rd to 1st straight away. Brilliant start by the young Irish star. Lewis Kent slots into 2nd, and Henry Neil will have to fend off Darrell Wilson for 3rd place. Into Redgate they go for the first time. Hart then with the advantage in the Cooper. Lewis Kent in 2nd position. The VW Racing Cup, of course, also forming part of the grid. They had some intense racing in yesterday's encounter. It looks like that might be Howard Fuller, who has come through to a front position on the early stages, but it's Hart that leads the way down into the old hairpin. Now Lewis Kent has a golden opportunity here to try and take some points out of Henry Neil. Wilson is sideways there, and that could have been Mark Wakefield, I think, trying to get up the inside quickly off the corner. Sadly, the number 19 of Jeff Olden is going a little bit slowly. That's the Honda Civic. The game is on for the race lead, though. Max Hart defending 1st position into McLean's corner. Lewis Kent needs to attack, and he needs to attack now. He knows he's got the ultimate pace to pass Max Hart and get away. He needs to do it, though, Scott, before Henry Neil arrives on his tail.
You must feel, though, it's deja vu from yesterday, because he spent practically 2/3 of the race stuck behind Max Hart, able to get through. It was only when Sam Osborne got onto the tail of him, but it was a possible opportunity for him to try and get through. I think the fast starting car that was trying to get up the inside was possibly the other PMR trade price cars, Cooper and Will Butler, who's had a good start from the 3rd row of the grid. But again, this is pretty much as it was yesterday. Max Hart leading a frustrated Lewis Kent, maybe not too much frustrated, it's only the first lap, but Henry Neil with good pace in that NGTC Honda Civic in 3rd. It's Sam Osborne, of course, getting a taste of TCR for the first time this weekend in 4th, and in 5th place now, 5th place is actually now Mark Wakefield. So that back up to 67th as Max Hart runs a little wide on the exit in Redgate, and Henry Neil has brought that gap in from the first lap and gone through. The VW Cup cars are coming through. It's actually now Andy Wilmot's gone to the lead, and Josh Coggan and Howard Fuller in 3rd place, and Bradley Kent is up to 4th after he started back on the reverse grid pole with the top 6 from yesterday's result for first for race number 2.
Yeah, there go the VW Cup front runners then. Wilmot leading the way. Josh Coggan it is who was trying to get up the inside there in the green Golf, going down into the old hairpin. Battle on for the race lead. They're all starting to bunch together here, aren't they? Max Hart is driving defensively. That's backing Lewis Kent up into his championship rival Henry Neil. And then Sam Osborne, British touring car star, in that Cooper, the number 77 car. Brilliant looking car that is. It's been driven by a few different drivers this year, but Sam Osborne is really getting the best out of it. 4 cars fighting for the lead. 3 different makes of car represented in this battle. Cooper from Hyundai, from Honda, and then another Cooper, and Henry Neil is looking up the inside of Lewis Kent. He's done more than that. He's going through on the inside of Lewis Kent into 2nd place, and that makes a big difference as far as the championship is concerned, especially if Sam Osborne could get past Lewis as well. He gets the Cooper alongside as they flash past our commentary position into Redgate corner. Lewis is not going to like that. He's late on the brakes. He gets back into the right-hander at Redgate corner ahead, but this is not the battle that Lewis Kent needs or wants to be having. Sadly, Jeff Olden, his only battle is to get to the finish of the race, and it's not going to happen this time, unfortunately. The Honda Civic out of the race with what looks like a mechanical problem.
Well, like he go up against the tyre man more than anything else. And he had a spin yesterday's first race to put him into the gravel. It looks like any problems there after that, he was limping around. So, what a great weekend for Jeff Olden, who's transitioned up from the BW Cup into that TCR car. It's an ex-Nick Halster car run by Fox Motorsport, but now it's Matrix Motorsport running with a little bit of help, I think, possibly Stu Lyons giving some assistance there, I think. Now for the VW Cup lead, it's now a Team Hard sandwich between Andy Wilmot and Howard Fuller, and in the middle of it is Josh Coggan. So it's now 3 different Golfs, but it's the 2 more traditional looking Golfs, as you see Andy Wilmot thumping the curve through McLean's, but it's Richie Gilbert, Josh Coggan. You hear Richie Gilbert run those pair of JM Racing Volkswagen Golfs to have it's very much a TCR style body kit on that car, which looks pretty much the part. So if you get confused thinking, why is that TCR Golf in there with mixed VW Cup cars? It's not. It's a regular VW Cup car with a Golf with a TCR body kit on it to make it a little bit more like a touring car. It does look the part in many cases. Josh Coggan ran that similar body kit last year. The top 4 in the touring car trophy ranks is still unchanged. Still Neil, then Hart from Neil, from Kent, and then from Osborne. Looks like third and fourth are close back in the middle of the top 2. Now we come back to our battling VW Cup cars, and in 4th place now looks to be yesterday's race winner Jack Depper, who has squeezed up the order into 4th position now. He's up there, Jack ahead of his father Martin. Bradley Kent's down to 6th, and one car went off wide somewhere. That's William Butler's off the road. That's the second of the PMR Trade Price cars. Good spot on that. A plume of gravel smoke, and for whatever reason, Will Butler, he's off the road. It looks like he's done that relatively recently.
Yeah, I saw the car hit the barriers off in the distance. I think it just got on the dirt, and as he tried to rejoin, the car kind of snapped sideways and went into the wall. Oops, Bradley Kent there, running a little bit wide. It's not just the TCT Championship battle we need to worry about here. The VW Cup is pretty tight. Andy Wilmot only 10 points ahead of Bradley Kent, and there's a sideways Josh Coggan from 2nd place in the VW Racing Cup. He's off at McLean's. He's going to lose 2nd position to Jack Depper. Jack Depper is ahead of Howard Fuller now. So Depper goes 2nd, son of former British touring car racer Martin, and then Howard Fuller, former TCR UK podium finisher, moves into a VW Racing Cup podium now. So that was a big mistake for Josh Coggan. I was about to say Andy Wilmot has a 10-point lead over Bradley Kent in the VW Cup. It's Wilmot that leads the class at the moment. Bradley Kent is deep in the order, not really on the pace in the Scirocco this weekend, so it could be that Wilmot, if he can win this race, will have a pretty handy points advantage going into race 3.
Yeah, I wonder if possibly wherever Will Butler's car is, if it's going to prompt anything in terms of maybe a safety car. It is quite up against the barriers in terms of where it is, so that might be a factor. Here's a battle going on between Mark Wakefield and the second of the 2 Maxim Motorsport run Honda Civic Cupras. He's battling away with the evergreen green Vauxhall Astra TCR car, Darrell Wilson, another car that's been in the championship like Lewis Kent since 2018, and certainly been one of the stalwarts of the championship throughout the last couple of years since it started. So this top 4 looked pretty static pace-wise in terms of where they are. In fact, actually, Sam Osborne set the fastest lap of the race last time by, but it was personal best for everyone in the top 4, just happened to be out of those 4 personal bests, Andy. It was Osborne who was the quickest, so even though they're in this order, I wouldn't say that Max Hart's definitely not getting away, but at the same time, Henry Neal maybe needs to find a bit more pace, because if he is closing in, it's only by chipping away a couple of tenths per lap, and he's still got the immediate threat of both Lewis Kent and Sam Osborne behind. So I think by no stretch of the imagination, with still 13.5 minutes to go, this race definitely isn't over here. These top 4 cars are still definitely in contention for any one of them to take the race victory. Yeah, Henry Neal set the fastest lap that time around, a 1 minute 11.111, all of the ones, that does my OCD the world of good, 0.6 of a second behind the race leader. But of course, right now, 2nd place for Henry Neal is great. He's taking 3 points out of Lewis Kent. He can have a double-figure championship lead going into race 3. As soon as he catches Max Hart, Max is going to defend. That's going to slow them both down. It's going to back them up into Lewis Kent. In a way, Henry doesn't need to apply the pressure to Max Hart, but I don't think he's going to be thinking like that, because he also knows that if he can get the lead away from Max, that's 7 more championship points than if he finishes in 2nd place. So I don't think he's going to stay where he is for long. In VW Cup, by the way, Jack Depper has taken the lead. Look, the black Scirocco, number 33, is ahead of number 21, Andy Wilmot, and number 65, Howard Fuller. These are the top 3 in the class, and that takes a few points away now from Andy Wilmot. He drops from 1st in class down to 2nd. He still, though, is ahead of his championship rival, Bradley Kent. Yeah, it's good to see Team Hart back in the championship. Of course, these 2 really nicely prepared Golf. We saw them at the start of the season with Ollie Brown at the wheel of his. Of course, he was getting ready for his run into the touring car chip. But you see TCT, of course, he's having to just take some of the recent rounds off due to a skull fracture he had in one of his ribs or something at Alton Park after an accident, so hopefully we'll get him back on track. But it was crazy. He went through that whole process of getting all the license signatures he needed in about, 4 or 5 weeks, which is a bit of a whirlwind sort of performance for him to get himself into the touring car ring from having taught cars at Palmer Sport for ages. But this is pretty crucial now because, of course, this is what's also crucial now, looking back at it as we switch to the leaders. Top foot all together again. Lewis Kent's looking up the inside. He's sideways over the curve at McLean's. He's going to be wide, but he's going to try and force himself alongside Henry Neal on the sprint towards Coppice. Closes the door, goes back up the inside over the curve. It's contact. The two champions touch, and wide goes Henry Neal, but he keeps the throttle in. Now, though, the loss of momentum gives Sam Osborne the chance to get himself up the inside in third place. We know how quick he is, how quick that Cooper is, down towards the turn one. Apart from all of that, Max Hart now has a bit of breathing space now as everyone else behind is fighting over second, third and fourth, and Sam Osborne, who's the background, has got past Lewis Kent, so it's all change again, but not in Lewis Kent's favour.
Yeah, but I think this is going to keep happening. That all started because of exactly what I predicted a few laps ago. Henry Neal caught Max Hart, Max started watching his mirrors, and it slows them all down. Now Henry Neal has no pressure from Sam Osborne. He should be able to catch Max Hart again, and will rinse and repeat the same process again. So, although things have calmed down a bit now, I do think there is the potential for a bit more chopping and changing here before the end of the race. Hart then leads the way in, I believe, the car that James Turkington drove to the TCR UK Championship here 12 minutes ago. Second place Henry Neal. Third place now is Sam Osborne then, and Bradley Kent in, Lewis Kent, excuse me, in fourth place. Bradley Kent, of course, running in the VW Racing Cup, and those leaders coming across the start-finish line now. That is the fight going on for fourth place. Josh Coggan, after his run through the gravel at McLean, seems to be struggling now, and Martin Depper, the father of the VW Cup race leader, Jack, is about to move into fourth place, I think. Josh Coggan has something to say about that, tries to get back on the inside and succeeds in doing so. There's a little bit of damage to the rear diffuser, isn't there, from that run through the gravel. I don't think that's slowing him down massively, but there's no doubt that car is not as quick now as it was before he went off.
No, definitely not, and it's actually showing possibly through the faster corners here as Martin Depper has the pace advantage and the grip advantage and slots through into fourth position. So now it's Depper's first and four, whilst the two Team Hard cars are second and third. Just now, looking out of our commentary box window, that gap between the top four of the touring cars has closed up even more now as we continue to watch Josh Coggan possibly having a bit more of a chance to keep up with Martin Depper, but now he's got some clear space. He might want to try and start to close in on the two Team Hard cars in front, because Andy Wilmot at the moment is going with Jack Depper. It's Howard Fuller that's being left behind in third place. Possibly, if he's not careful, he starts to continue losing pace in clear air. Martin Depper, who's got past Josh Coggan now, and already starting to pull away, you can see it visibly, could have an advantage here. So Josh Coggan, of course, having the problem. Meanwhile, a problem for Max Hart again, because Henry Neal is back on his tail, exactly as you predicted. They're going to start concentrating up because Sam Osborne's caught Henry Neal, who has caught Max Hart, is looking one way then the other. Max Hart, he's not the championship hub, but he doesn't care. He's going to try and defend to get his first touring car trophy race win. He's come third in every single race. He wants to go at least a step higher if he can, but Henry Neal has something to say about that. He's come up the inside line. They're going to be banging panels on the run down towards it. Henry Neal's on the grass. He kept his foot in. He's sideways on the front towards the chicane, but somehow he keeps his foot in and ends up side by side with his championship rival Lewis Kent. They're side by side into the chicane, but Neals holds on to third. So now it's a Cooper 1-2. Sam Osborne up to second place, but Max Hart is defending for his life because he knows if he holds on, he can get his first touring car win.
I know it looks as though this is working out nicely for Henry Neal because he's staying ahead of his rival Lewis Kent, but actually he's in the hardest position because, as you said, he's going up against two drivers ahead of him now in those Coopers, Max Hart and Sam Osborne, who don't care one bit about the championship fight. Henry wants to get ahead of them, not only to score the points, but also to get some distance on this battle and have a slightly easier run to the flag. Lewis Kent is on the inside, is he into the old hairpin? Snatches a break, takes to the curb as much to avoid hitting the Honda, I think, as anything else. But yeah, Henry is being goaded into a fight that he doesn't need to be in, but he's got no choice. He can't back off, he's got to try and go forward. That is his only chance to get to safety. Max Hart locks up at McLean's, runs out wide, Sam Osborne's through on the inside. Now can Henry Neal get through? No! Max Hart stubbornly defends the inside into Coppice corner. Neal goes to the outside. This could be Lewis Kent's next opportunity even to get up the inside. There is a stationary Golf there. Is that Coggan maybe? We'll get to that in a moment. That very nearly caught out this lead group as they head towards the chicane. Osborne has the lead. Henry Neal was at the inside of Max Hart for second. Has he gone through? Yes, he has, and he gets a car between himself and Lewis Kent as well. And now the onus is on the Hyundai to try and come through as well.
I think the car was stopped. It was either Josh Coggan or Richard Gilbert, because if Richard had managed to get out, Richard Gilbert is showing a stop on the circuit, so that's a crucial thing. He was at one point going to Silverstone, the championship leader, so that's disaster for him. It's not been 2 poor weekends on the trot for him. Lewis Kent, meanwhile, and actually, no, is it Josh? No, it is Richard Gilbert's car. I got confused by the number on there. But it's number 12 that was on there. So yeah. No, it's Josh Coggan's car stopped. Yeah. No, forgive me. I've acknowledged that. So Richard Gilbert has stopped already. So I apologise. They're two very similar coloured cars, but the numbers 2 and 12. So Josh Coggan then, he was whether it must have been the damage from when he ran off on the exit McLean's through the gravel trap, whatever it was, because he was being dropped by Martin Depper soon after he passed it. So that was a crucial thing. Now the TCR runners have got a chance to possibly put a lap on Paul Ivans. And now we look back to our safety car's been deployed, in fact. So safety car is out there, and that's for obvious reasons, because Josh Coggan's car is in a dangerous position. It's on the inside of the track, but even so, it still has to be recovered.
Yes. Now, I would question whether there were yellow flags out at the point at which all those places were changing amongst Henry Neal, Lewis Kent, Sam Osborne, up at Coppice Court. I mean, surely there was a car stopped in the middle of the road, and I did think for a moment Henry Neal was going to hit it. Now, Henry Neal was on the inside going past Max Hart. Did he pass him under yellow flags? Discuss, everybody. I'm not sure, but that I'm sure will be discussed in race control as we speak. They'll be looking back over the footage to try and figure out if that was a legal pass. The safety car then comes out. We've got 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. We should get a couple of laps in after this. In VW Cup, Jack Depper still leads. Look, black and yellow, number 33, Scirocco. Andy Wilmot's second. As things stand in the VW Racing Cup, Wilmot's second place is not quite enough to wrap up the title. He would be 18 points clear of Bradley Kent, who is fifth at the moment, and there would still be lots more points than that available. You get 40 points, I think, for a race win in VW Cup, 44 points for a race win, so that absolutely is going down to the last race. In the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, as it stands, Henry Neal is second, Lewis Kent is fourth. That means there would be an 11-point lead. Has that been updated? No, it hasn't been updated. Henry Neal would have 18. Let me just change that myself. 18, and Lewis Kent in fourth position would score 12. The gap therefore would be, I think it will be 11 points with drop scores. Either way, Henry Neal is still going to have the advantage, but I do think there is a discussion to be had about that overtake on Max Hart. It's
a good point, actually. Of course, as you say, with that car stationary, there wouldn't not have been yellow flags. So absolutely, there is a discussion point there, and possibly, I'm sure, if anyone's going to make that point, it'll be Lewis Kent.
Oh, yes.
Of course, he'll be wanting to look at it thinking, hold on a second. In fact, he would have had a prime seat to watch that happen. So he possibly looked at it and thought, he probably on the radio going, hold a minute, what's happening here? 14
points. It's been updated for me now. Thank you, Connor. 14 points between Henry Neal and Lewis Kent as it stands then. So Lewis would still be in it, but he needs to try and beat Henry if he can.
You might want to switch race control messages on your timing screen, I think, to see if we get anything come up from race control on that, because that's going to be crucial if we do get anything in terms of penalty. I'm not saying there is, but of course, again, if it's being looked at, it may well be looked at after the race or during, depending on time remaining. Speaking of which, there's only 4.5 minutes to go, and they've been quick to push that car out of the way. The question's got to be, I suppose, is do they have to wait now until they get the VW Cup cars run? There's a bit of a body that's been thrown off somewhere from somebody. So
I'm not surprised in the slightest. Got people watching this race?
I was watching yesterday's and today's race, so I knew exactly what was going on. So, but this is tricky.
Why is Max Hart? No, Max Hart's transponder is not working. Just to add an extra bit of complication into the mix. The timing screen was saying he was dropping down the order. No, he's still there in third.
We should mention there are a couple of other TCR cars still in this race, because we've popped to the screen now, because we've now got Darrell Wilson in the difficult spot. I think is obviously the case. Thing is the bright green DW racing Vauxhall Astra, and of course we've also got Mark Wakefield on the second of those Maxim Motorsport cars. Now I'm betting possibly that's the car which certainly is just a Stuart Lyons yes. I'd imagine, colour scheme wise, so it's definitely got his kind of colour scheme that he's used more than once on that one. Now here's our VW Cup cars. They've also caught up to the train, so Jack Depper of course still ahead of Andy Wilmot, with Howard Fuller third, Martin Depper fourth, and this is also crucial for Bradley Kent as well, because Bradley Kent's now closing to fifth. So. And also with Paul Ivans, you see Paul Ivans now, he's in a bit of no man's land. He's right in the middle of the touring car, so he's pretty much he's out of position in terms of the queue. So he might be ahead of Jack Depper. He's actually almost a lap behind them, because he's a bit further back than he should be. So this is going to be crucial for the points in terms of Bradley Kent, because he might have an opportunity here if he gets a good restart to pick up a couple of places and maybe negate the advantage that Andy Wilmot has going to this afternoon's third and final race.
Yeah, Bradley is 16 points behind now. That moving into fifth place was significant. It saved him a few points, so he's 16 points behind, but he also catches up now onto the tail of that leading quartet, who have all been battling away so far in this race. We should go green this time, I think, with probably around 2 minutes to go. So we could get, yes, the lights are out on the safety car, so we are going racing this time. We should get about 2 laps of racing in here. And Sam Osborne, lost almost amongst all of this championship drama, could be on for his first ever victory in a TCR car, racing, of course, in the British Touring Car Championship, as we've been documenting already this year. And he has got the Team Dynamics run BTCC car of Henry Neal right behind him.
Which is pretty much the same spec car he runs in British touring cars.
Yes, it is. It's the older shape Honda Civic, isn't it? Which is still going strong, both in this competition and in the BTCC. Here we go then. Off goes Sam Osborne. He was not hanging around, but nor was Henry Neal, in fairness. The key here is Max Hart. Max Hart, if he starts holding up Lewis Kent, that could really play into the hands of Henry Neal. Across the line they go, just over 2 minutes to go, so we should get 2 laps of racing in. Drivers weaving around, trying to get some heat into the tyres. The battle is on for 3rd place. Lewis Kent immediately goes on the attack, pulls to the outside of Max Hart into Redgate Corner. Very late on the break. Did he run wide on the exit? You can imagine he might have done. There is the VW Cup battle, and where is Bradley Kent? He is nowhere on the restart. He's way back from the top 4. So there goes his chance, I fear, of gaining too many more points out of this race. The question now is what happens to his championship rival, Andy Wilmot. Right, through the old hairpin.
It's going to change, I think.
Yeah.
Looks like Lewis Kent's got past Max Hart, and he's straight onto the tail of Henry Neal, which is crucial. Actually, hold on. Where's Sam Osborne?
Oh, Sam Osborne's not there, is he? Sam Osborne has disappeared, so Henry Neal leads the race, and there is Sam Osborne.
Again.
Now, this is really significant because it's a much bigger points difference between a win and 2nd place. It's 7 points. If Lewis Kent can win this race, he'd only be a point behind Henry Neal going into the decider.
And this happened yesterday. Sam Osborne was in the mix, and he's actually stopped, ironically, at exactly the same place he stopped in race 1. It's almost the same amount of time. He stopped on the last lap heading down towards the Craner curve, so this now makes it even more significant, and these two are together now. This is going to be a real battle between the two of them through the chicane for the last time, so the second to last time. It's less than a minute to go. Darrell Wilson is currently, there's a black and white flag going up for somebody, but you see now in 3rd place is now Darrell Wilson, in fact, so Max Hart's dropped to 5th.
Transponder's not working on
sorry, it's not working there, so Max Hart is there in 3rd. Darrell Wilson, he's got a bit of bodywork to hang off his car in 4th position. 5th place now still is Mark Wakefield. And yellow flags come down there, so unfortunate for PMR Racing, but I guess a small silver lining, which, forgive me for the humour, both their cars were there when they recover them, as Lewis Kent's going one way, then the other, forcing Henry Neal to go defensive. But look at Max Hart, the way he's arriving on the tail of his top 2 is Henry Neal actually, he's almost backing Lewis Kent up into Max Hart as the VW Cup car head down the Craner curve.
Yeah, Lewis Kent had a run then out the old hairpin. I think he's going to try and attack as they go to the top of the circuit. There's no change in the VW Cup. Lewis Kent is up the inside of Henry Neal, and he goes through. Does he know they're side by side with half a lap to go? This is absolutely vital for the championship. Henry Neal fends him off, gets to the inside of the old head at the Coppice corner. Lewis Kent with the switchback, he's bought himself the inside line, and Max Hart could have a factor to play in this as well. If he gets past Henry Neal, that could give Lewis Kent the championship lead. 2 corners to go, the checkered flag is waiting, the top 2 in the championship are together, and Henry Neal somehow has fought his way in front. He's late on the brakes, gets the car stopped. It's a drag race to the line. The Hyundai is quick in a straight line. Can Lewis Kent get there? No, he can't. Henry Neal hangs on to what could be the most important one of his 4 victories this year. He will take an 11-point championship lead at least. There could be more than that into race number 3 later on. In the VW Racing Cup, is Jack Depper going to hang on to the victory? I think he will. Andy Wilmot in 2nd place, can't quite get there, and his teammate Howard Fuller playing rear gunner a bit there, I think in 3rd. Now, where is Martin Depper? Bradley Kent has taken 4th. Martin Depper is 5th at the line. So Bradley Kent has gained another crucial place, although his brother wasn't quite able to get the race win in the TCT class. At least Bradley has been able to salvage some more points from the VW Cup. Well, yes, so the points now then, 148 for Henry Neal and 133 for Lewis Kent going into the final race. That could prove to be a really important win for Henry.
Absolutely, and that was so close, and Lewis was shown that he wanted that. He really did fight as hard as he could, and he possibly thought he had a chance to get up on the inside exit in McLean's corner, but Henry Neal just getting that slightly better run off the corner with the traction that he had. And again, Lewis trying to get this undercut. He was alongside him, but Henry Neal, for whatever reason, just had more grip and more confidence, just stuck it a little bit later under brakes, swept in front, and he held on to the victory. But even though Lewis did really try on the exit, it was going to be always a close run thing. So that's it's a fantastic, thrilling end to that race. And of course, Henry Neal now has that 15-point advantage, which now it means he can carry the mix. So he eventually is in the, use the pun, driving seat, well, no pun intended, going forwards into this last race. And it means now that Henry Neal has to pretty much, all he can do is pretty much try and have as calm a race as possible as he can to hold on. As for PMR trade price cars though, well, one silver line is to know where both cars are, and they're easy to be recoverable in the same place. But Butler, of course, in the tyres, and another technical issue as he parks up at exactly the same place as yesterday. I don't know what it is, but Sam Osborne's car at the moment is not destined to finish a race. Fingers crossed they change that for race number 3, because that's such a quick car in Sam Osborne's hand, and he had was so close to possibly getting a first race victory, which is absolutely unfortunate. So we are now moving into the final race. Just getting confirmation. Yeah, no champions either way yet in TCT or BW. So that is that. The last race of the season for them is going to take place a little bit later on this afternoon, where we will crown champions in both VW Cup and the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy. In terms of the TCR class, Lewis Kent is effectively the top driver of anyway, because he has been top of that category all season so far. So that won't have any change on that side of things. We've still got our next couple of races coming up, so be sure to stay tuned for more of that action. But Andy will be just quickly heading down there to have a chat quickly with our top three, at least in our TCR cars. There's also a bit of a clear up to go on to retrieve the two Powermax Racing Trade Price Cars Racing prepared Cupras. William Butler's car just against the barrier there in the background, and the car with the more prominent black and gold flashes is Sam Osborne's car. They've also got to go and pick up Jeffrey Alden's car, which is the Matrix Motorsport Honda Civic. I'll get my words out eventually. Honda Civic of Jeff Alden to retrieve him as well. Again, we said that's the ex-Nick Halstead car. He's now moved on into Genesis GT4 Super Cup, which is where he richly races against the man who is at the head of everything to do with TCT, which is, of course, Stuart Lyons. And of course, he's been competing in the GT4 Super Cup this year. I mean, taking a regular amount of class podiums, so he's doing pretty well in the AND category of that championship. So, well done to Stuart for all his escapades there. But of course, this is his other part of what he does in motorsport when he's not racing Ginettas, and that is overseeing the VW Cup and the TCT, and of course the Civic Cup as well, because it's now Maximum Motorsport who look after the Civic Cup this year as well. And of course, they've invited a few of those invitation cars into the mix for this final round. So we've still got action to come up from another Miltex Civic Cup race. We've still got another race for the Fiesta Juniors. We've also got the Caterham Academy Autumn Trophy race. And of course, remember, we do still have at the end of the day the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy race. Of course, there is a qualifying session coming up for the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy, so we're going to have a little bit of a break going into this one to give you a chance to catch your breath, because we've got some more great racing coming up after that. But the Club Sport Trophy cars will be out for qualifying very shortly. Just recovering the two PMR cars out of the area. So I think we're now ready to head down to Andy, so we can have a chat with our top three from that race. A frantic battle in TCT and BW, so down to Andy in the pit lane to see what they thought of that.
A dramatic end to that second Dunlop Touring Car Trophy race of the weekend that sees Henry Neal take a really important race win. Henry, if I can just put in here and have a chat with you. That wasn't easy, was it?
No. That was rather kept me on my toes the entire race, man. I worked hard for that one, put it that way. I lost midway through the session. I lost on the screen what gear I was in, so I had no idea what gear I was in, and then the gear cut wasn't working for the gear, so I was having to dip the clutch every gear change, which obviously catches you out. So now I managed to get back ahead of Lewis at the end. I mean, he was pushing me hard. I thought he had me then up until the last corner, and I knew we are slightly better than on the brake, so I just gave it everything and backed it into the chicane and managed to just squeeze ahead. So happy days. And obviously when I was alongside Max, I got alongside him and he came across me and I had to ditch it on the grass, and luckily he kept it in, but that was dangerous. But hey ho, he didn't see me, so never, bygones be bygones. But absolutely stoked for that double win. Puts in a great position for the championship now. I think we've got to finish, if Lewis wins this next one, we've got to finish fourth, so we'll see how it goes. Nothing's won just yet.
Oh no, I think it's just into double points now, about 13, 14 points between you, but that must have been quite an intense race, particularly in the first half. When Max was in the lead, you were second. Yeah. I guess you might have taken second place, but you were just quicker than Max. You couldn't help but get involved with him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I really didn't get away well, so I think I was fourth or something off the start, and then Max was in front. I can't remember. It was almost such a blur, that race. That was all so fast, and obviously I got back past them all in and got behind Sam, and I'm guessing he had an issue with the car, which is obviously happy days for us, but he was looking racy. So yeah, it's all a bit of a bluff. I'm just stoked to bring our own P1.
I'll go and have a sit down, mate. I think you need one.
Cheers, I will do.
Henry Neal then, race winner in the TCT. Now Lewis Kent was second. He'll have a wander over here, I think. Lewis is stood chatting to his team, and not the result you were after, I'm sure, but I mean, it could so easily have been a win. It could so easily have been the gravel trap that beckoned for you. That was a bruising race.
Yeah, it was actually a bit easier than the first race. It weren't as rough and ready, but no, you know, not the result we were hoping for. I feel like it was still a little bit of not as fair play as I thought it would be. You know, I do believe that sometimes I was down the inside and people have turned in and you know, through the last corner I thought I was going to be able to get a run on Henry, and I saw brake lights, so it kind of caught me out, and we had some little issues like that. But you know, it's racing. It's how you drive these things. If you want to win, you have to do everything at the end of the day. But yeah, hopefully in the last race we can come out on top, and you never know. Henry might have some misfortune. You never know. But yeah, fingers crossed the last race goes all in our favour and we can come away with a win.
Well, you've got to go for that win, haven't you? There's no choice.
Yeah, exactly. The car felt absolutely mint. You know, if I'd have actually got a gap and I was by myself at the front, I reckon I'd have pulled away by miles. The car feels absolutely amazing at the moment. But yeah, it's just the traffic at the moment. You've got people all over the place not letting you pass, and you know, some of them aren't even fighting for the championship. It's a bit silly, but it's racing at the end of the day. People want trophies, and that's how it goes. But yeah, we're gonna have to focus on the last race, and yeah, as long as the car settles like that, then we'll be all right.
Well, second place then for Lewis in that race. Thank you, Lewis, for having a chat. And third place was Max Hart. There he is. Max, you were leading for much of that race, just faded there towards the end. Was that an issue with the car, or did you just get sort of hung out to dry?
Just tyres, I think. See, I did a lot of warming up on the warm-up lap in hopes to get a really good start, which I did, and got myself into the lead. And then towards the end, the tyres really started going off, and it was understeering everywhere. So that kind of the lads started catching me then, and then with the pressure as well, like they have the tow and all that, so I couldn't keep them behind then, and then I couldn't get in front of them.
It's so tight out there, isn't there? And with a bigger grid than we're used to this weekend, perhaps, that's making it extra competitive. So to be on the podium must mean still quite a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be on the podium. Like, this is my third place. So I was hoping kind of to move up to second or first, and when I was in first, I was hoping the two lads would keep battling behind me. But I think they might have worked together and caught up with me to take advantage of that then. So.
Well, another third place. You've got one more chance to break the trend. Can you do it?
Yeah, new set of fronts for the next race. So hopefully I'll learn from last time, and if I can stay in front, hopefully the two lads can battle away, and I'll try to pull a gap then, yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Well done, Max, then. Third place in the Touring Car Trophy. Right, before we have a word with our VW Racing Cup podium finishers, I believe Scott can confirm the race results for us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Andy. Here's confirmation of that result from race 2 of the weekend for the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy, TCR UK and VW Cup. Henry Neal takes the victory by just 0.139 in the second at the end of that race. Max Hart once again finishes in third. It's the same three drivers on the podium as it normally is, with Darrell Wilson in fourth, Mark Wakefield fifth, and then top VW Cup car driver Jack Depper in sixth. From Andy Wilmot, Howard Fuller, Bradley Kent and Martin Depper in the top 10. And the rest of the finishers from 11th place downwards, or the rest of the classification from 11th downwards, shows Paul Ivans, then Sam Osborne, who sadly didn't make the finish, neither did Josh Coggan, who stopped on the track. William Butler was in the tyres, and Richard Gilbert also had an issue which saw him out of the race early, and also Jeff Oldham, who was bumped against the barrier as well. That's the results, and so quickly we'll head back down to Andy, who has our race winner at least, Jack Depper in the VW Cup.
Well, that is how the race results look after that first race of the day. Remember, there's another race coming up later on this afternoon for the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy and for the VW Racing Cup. And our race winner in the VW Racing Cup was Jack Depper. Jack, come over here. If you just want to wander down this way for us. Race win, not easy.
Absolutely not, no, especially with all the ballast on board and starting from sixth. It was felt like driving almost a different car to the first race.
Him through.
I had to brake earlier, carry the momentum. It made it that little bit more difficult, but hey, managed to pull it off. And yeah, 2 out of 2 this weekend, so not too shabby.
Yeah, you obviously agree with this place, and I guess this guy has to take some of the credit. He's given you all of his best advice, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the best mentor I could ever have, and it's not too bad because over the dinner table, you know, it's 24/7. It's not paying for a weekend and he's there and gone. It's all the time. It's, oh, Jack, what about this? What about that? You know, always trying to help me improve. So no, massive props to Dad. I couldn't do it without him.
He's done a few races himself, hasn't he? But I'll tell you what, you are becoming one of the stars of the show in this championship. You're peaking at the end of the year. Does this mean next year maybe there's a title campaign in you?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I mean, hopefully so. Who knows what next year holds, really? You know, unprecedented times with COVID and that. Hopefully, if it all clears up and we are back to normal, then I will be fighting for a championship.
Well, that's the plan. Best of luck. Congratulations on the win, and maybe another one later on.
Thank you very much. Cheers. See ya.
Jack Depper, then, your winner in the VW Racing Cup. Now, second was Andy Wilmot, and Andy, you had a bit of a tense race there because you've got this points lead to try and protect. You knew Bradley was a bit further back, but it's so close, it's so tight, it can so easily go wrong.
Yeah,
And nearly did.
Yeah, it nearly did go. Yeah, it was. I can't even explain, to be honest. I don't even know how I got into the lead. But then when I realised I was there, I was desperately trying to keep it. I had a little bit of mechanical issue, which I was trying to maintain. Jack got past me, and I just had to again maintain that. So I was driving in my mirrors most of the race. But no, I was happy where I finished, to be honest, because it's all about the points in this one, and then damage limitation for the next one.
Yeah, you've got a decent lead, I think about 16 points, but 44 still up for grabs. It's all still to play for. You had your rear gunner there, though, didn't you, towards the end, keeping you safe. Were you worried at all he might break the script and try and get past you?
Yes. Yeah, at the end of the day, as soon as we get the helmets on, that's it, really. Like, it changes the personality, so I was a little bit worried, but he was... He did put some pressure on me a few times, and I was like, oh, Howard, please don't. I'm trying to like maintain an issue here. But no, we got through. It was all right. But do you say 16 points ahead? Is that
so
all I am?
I'm told. Don't quote me on that.
I'm quoting you on that. Makes me even more nervous for the next one.
It's not very much, I know that. It's going to be an intense final race, but best of luck for it.
Great, thanks very much.
Andy Wilmot then, second place, and it was a familiar sight here at these TCR meetings. Howard Fuller. Howard, welcome back, first of all, to the paddock, and welcome back to the VW Racing Cup. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It certainly has been. Well, it's good to see you again, and when I get to speak to you, I've usually done something well. But excuse the makeshift mask, but the balaclava will do for now. But no, it's been a really good day so far, and yesterday was pretty positive, and looking after Andy the best I can. But you know what, he's driving so well. He really, really is, and we've not raced against each other or with each other since 2013 back in British touring cars. So it's been a few years, but yeah, he's driving a great race. But it really is testament to the team, because you know we've not been in the championship all year. It has been a familiar place for Team Hard, the Volkswagen Cup, and we're coming back in and we're being really competitive, and I'm enjoying it. I really am.
The last time I spoke to you was a couple of years ago. You were racing in TCR UK, got yourself a podium at Brands Hatch. Well, I will never forget the atmosphere in the garage after that race. What have you been up to since then, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, that podium for us was significant. It really, really was, and it was such a shame that we couldn't get any more momentum in that series, because I really believed in the TCR UK Championship, and I love to have stayed. And we had some great hospitality and great sponsors on board of us who wanted to keep going, but unfortunately the moons didn't align. But the news of us racing the British Touring Car Championship at the start of this year came to a nice, well, I say surprise, but we really worked on it for a number of years. But it's come around, and just a little bit of refreshing. And this is the championship I know very well. I've won races in over the years. Really, because we had the pace to win. We were
Okay. Well, apologies there for the small little interference there on the cameras. And just having a great chat there with Howard Fuller, so thank you to him for the chat. Just as you can see, we're going to a quick break now as the cars are out for qualifying for the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy Championship. We're going to take a break whilst they do that. That'll be our last race of this afternoon. We've still got some great racing to come up from, of course, the Caterham Mechanical Trophy. We've got that last Dunlop TCT VW Cup race. We've got the second of the Fiesta Junior races, second sort of Civic Cup race, and of course the Club Sport Trophy at the end of the day, the 45-minute pit stop race. So take a breather. We'll be back in a few moments' time, and of course once we get racing back underway, we'll be back with you to finish off today's action here at Donington Park. So stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly.